Damer og herrer, velkommen til nok en episode av Hockey Talkie Podcast. Og det er en mann ved min side som jeg har hatt lyst til å få tak i lenge, for å få en litt annen perspektiv, litt annen linse, fra de som en gang kom til norsk hockey på slutten av 70-tallet, tidlig 80-tallet, for å få deres historie og hvordan de da havner i norsk ishockey. Så det er med stor glede jeg kan ønske Mr. Rodney Winkler. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
How are you these days?
Going good. I'm retired now, and so just taking it easy and trying to survive.
Yeah. You still follow hockey?
Yeah, I follow Frisk.
Frisk?
I still live out in Oscar, and the Frisk is my team.
Yeah, because I have seen you in some games. So
Yeah.
How are you feeling about Frisk these days?
Well, I'm very happy that they're in second spot. I think they're going to have a battle to stay in second spot because of the three other teams, and so. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. To me, sounds like Roy has a foundation now, defensive foundation that they don't consider so many goals.
Well, I think Roy, I was living in Geneva for 15 years, so I just came back a couple of years ago and started watching the Frisk games lately, and I think Roy's doing a good job with the players he's got, and I think he's doing a real good job.
Good. Speaking about players and hockey, you're a Canadian, of course,
yes.
and I mean, let's go back to the very beginning. Where would you like to start? You are a boy from Saskatchewan?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town of 500 people and left home when I was 15. Went to a place called Notre Dame in Saskatchewan that is very well known for its hockey.
Yeah.
And then took it from there.
Yeah. I mean, as a Canadian kid, I mean, everybody knows how big hockey is in Canada, but I guess for you guys, you get the hockey through the breast milk of your mother, I guess. From you just born into it more or less, don't you?
Well, it's like football here. You know, everybody plays football in Canada. Everybody plays hockey. So
it means a lot of competition from the very beginning, then.
Very much so, and coming from a small town, a lot of the real good hockey players are from small towns.
Yeah. Is there any special reason for that?
Is it time for supper?
No, it's just, we have some clocks here. That's old school clocks. So but what should I say? How do you explain that? Is there any small town mentality that fits good into hockey, you think? Or?
Well, back when I was playing, it was every small town had a ice hall, and which they still do. But it's a complete different situation nowadays. The hockey, and not just hockey, but sports in general. Like when you think about it, the kids, what they have to do for tennis or football or whatever. It's a complete different way of life, the sports today.
Yeah, but your very first memory of hockey itself, where would you start if you?
Well, I would start at 15 when I went to Notre Dame. That was we had an extremely good team. We were one of the best 16 and under teams in Canada that year. We didn't do so well the next year, but that's I got fond memories of that. But
if you go before that, the way into hockey itself is just a natural thing that you play on the frozen pound and stuff like that, or?
Well, for me, I always wanted to do nothing but skate. Every chance I got when the arena was open, I skated. Of course, a lot of other people in my small town didn't, and I was at that age group, I was the only one that actually left town to go play somewhere else.
Yeah, and which age do you start to play organized hockey?
Well, that's one of the things that in Canada, they start organized at the age of 9 years of age. And they still do that to this day. And in fact, I think even now, they're going lower and they start picking teams at 7.
Okay.
So it's like I've got, my daughter's got twin girls that are playing hockey and they're 6. And they'll be going into a team next year.
Okay. So, but how do you find we know you was now you retired, of course, but we know when you were at your prime, you were like a smooth skating, hard hit defenseman. But were you always sure that you want to be a defenseman, or there's something you just molds into?
Well, I started out as a forward, and then when I went to this, when I was 15, when I went to Notre Dame, one of my best qualities for me personally was my skating.
Yeah.
And I could skate both forwards and backwards very, very good. And so the coach at that time put me as a defenseman. I'd never really played defense up until then, and then it just went on from there.
Do you mold? Do you have any role models that you mold your game after? I want to be like this guy. Yeah. If you look at players, great defensemen on that time, who would that be? Like
well,
Robinson?
I'm showing my age right now, but Bobby Orr was one of my favorites.
Yeah, of course.
A guy called Brad Park was extremely good.
Yeah.
But Bobby Orr was he was everybody's favorite.
Yeah, because he was
just
defending,
phenomenal.
scoring, do it all. I mean, yeah. Bobby is one of the greatest. If not, many people mean he's the greatest.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I think him and I get a lot of feedback on this, but I think him and Mario Lemieux are.
That's my man.
Yeah.
I always said Mario. Welcome with Gretzky. I understand Gretzky, all that, but Mario, what he could do, what he did after he came back from injury, it's insane. I don't know how it's possible.
Well, people don't realize this, but on a game average, Mario was ahead of Gretzky until he got his cancer.
Yeah,
I don't know, he had 1.5 points a game or something like that, but it was ahead of Gretzky's.
Insane. Even Gretzky said that if he was healthy, he would break some of his record. And I think he was also more flashy than Gretzky was.
Well,
so that's a personal thing. But
he was a big man. He was like 6'4" and he was around 2 meters, where Gretzky wasn't, and so Gretzky needed protection.
Yeah.
Where Mario didn't.
Yes, he has Semenko and later McSorley. Mario didn't have anybody, right?
He had it all. He didn't have to worry.
That's the podcast itself, man.
No kidding.
An episode itself. A lot of Gretzky lovers will kill us now. But
well.
Anyway, but the journey that takes you to Norway. I mean, that must be. When you're 15, you have no idea that you one day will end up in Norway of all places.
No.
So how take us through that journey? How did that happen?
Well, after Notre Dame, I went and played in Moose Jaw, and then from there I went and played in Brandon University, a university team. And that university team, we were one of the best in Canada. We won our division. We went to the Canadian finals. We didn't win it.
Brian Murray as a coach?
No, actually it was Andy Murray.
Andy Murray. I mean Andy. Yes.
Yeah. And then I was approached to come to Norway, and I decided to only come for 1 year, and then.
But how did that happen? Just somebody that was working in Norway?
Agents.
Agents
were looking at us.
So this was scouting back then.
And Norway, there was a team. Stavanger wanted a player, and the agent contacted me to say if I was interested, and I said yes.
Did he have anything to do that the Stavanger was like the oil capital, that they had more, more control or more awareness of players, transatlantic players?
I had no idea about Stavanger at all, none whatsoever. And it was just, I was only going to go for 1 year, and then they wanted me to stay, and so I told them, I will stay, but you have to find me a job, which they did. Yeah,
but then you get that offer on the table. They say, Norway, do you know where Norway was? Do you have any idea?
Yeah.
So you had heard about Norway?
Oh yeah, of course, like Scandinavia. And
so you were aware of, okay. So, but Stavanger, take us there. When you land at Stavanger, of course, you have the guarantee that you were quite early, conscious about have a job security.
It seems. You see, I needed 1 more year of university to get my degree.
Yeah.
And so I had to make a decision. Either you find me a job, or I have to go back and finish off my university, because work was extremely important for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just be here in Norway at the age of 30 and go back and have nothing.
Exactly. Yeah,
so I used hockey. I used hockey to get where.
But that's a very mature way of thinking. Well, in a quite young age back then.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, many people don't understand that before it's a bit late. What they do, but then the career is over, they're not sure what to do.
Yeah.
I think that was And you come to a Viking team. You take us through that team. Who was the coach, and How did you find the Norwegian hockey itself? I mean,
Well, Bernie Lynch was the coach then, and that was his first year, and so he coached there for 2 years. And I wasn't sure about Norwegian hockey at all, and but with my style of skating and my shooting,
the wide rink was a blessing.
I enjoyed the wide rink. I could move.
Yeah.
And so.
If I ask you, describe Rodney Winkler, the player, what would you say about him?
Well, back in those days, I was a hard hitter.
Yeah.
I fast skater and a good shot. So if somebody came into my corner, they knew it.
I heard so. I have some witnesses that actually has felt it on the body. So so you play like an aggressive Canadian type of brand of hockey then?
Well, I like as you said before the interview, I was up high in the penalty minutes, but I always thought, like, I was always, when I played, a very hard hitter. But I don't think I played dirty.
No, but you finished your checks,
but
right?
I finished my checks.
Yeah, that's what.
And I had one referee actually say to me in Stavanger, I said to him after the game, I said, why did I get a penalty? I didn't do anything dirty. And he says, no, you were just too aggressive in your hitting. And I went, gosh. Okay.
He said, where is this place?
It's not bandy.
No, that's a strange statement from a referee in the top division. But that Viking team, how do you guys was like a mid-table team, but you had your moments, because I remember actually in the 82 season you gave Vålerenga a hard time for their money.
Well, we when we came, like I say, I came with a goalie called Vern Mott.
Vern Mott, yeah.
And when we came, Viking, not the Oilers, it was Stavanger Viking. We're in the bottom part of the league, and we played our first 9 games. I think we took everybody by surprise, and we won our first 9 games.
Okay.
And then we ended up being in 4th place when the season was come to a final. And like every team will say, some of the most important games you can ever play is the first 10 or so games, because that really helps out at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And then we ended up playing against Vålerenga, and it was best of 3 then.
Yep.
And
tight games.
Two sudden deaths.
Yes.
And they took us out, and then we played first set for 3rd place, and we beat them.
Yeah.
So
that was the best thing Viking ever did in that area.
That was absolutely the best. And then the next year, the management there made mistakes by not bringing in the right players, because more teams understood how to play us. Like I said, we were in first place in the beginning of the season, and then so we went back down.
You did maybe a lack of depth, maybe a little bit?
Completely. That was it. And they didn't have the money either, like to bring in, and players at that time from the Oslo area, where most of the good players were, didn't really want to go to Stavanger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's true.
And at that time, you were only allowed 2 foreigners per team.
Yeah. So actually, but if you think about it, if we're going to build a core, you have a good goaltender in Vern, you have a defenseman that can play. You play in every situation, I guess. Yeah. And then if you go to the stats, Rasmus Gjesdal Jr. He's always there. I was a bit surprised how frequently he was on the top, like top 5, top 4.
Yeah, he was a goal scorer.
Yeah. What was his strength?
Well, what was his strength? He was a good skater, a good centerman, and he was always you give him the puck in the slot area. He had a good chance. He had a good chance of putting it in the net.
Yeah. So, is there other players on the other teams back then that impressed you? Norwegian players that you find hard to play against? That was was a bit not above average.
Well, Orion Lovedahl. He was at that time. Roy was a good player.
Roy Johansson, yeah.
There was Ilkka Karna. He was a
sneaky Finn. Yeah, I remember.
He was good.
Number
Those
25.
are the ones that just come off the top of my head at this time.
Yeah. So, what happened in the Viking? Did you get offer because after Viking, you moved to Frisk, right?
Yeah.
And did you know anything about Frisk back then, or did you just get the offer on the table that?
Well, the last 2 years I played in Stavanger, I was playing as a player coach, and plus I was working.
Yeah.
And that was really, really hard. And the last season in Stavanger, I was lucky enough to get the top defenseman award.
Yeah.
And
That's the picture of the Henry Westereng. Yeah. That's
And
what
then-
it is. I was wondering about the.
well, I got one the first year and then won my last year. And I had a couple teams after me at that time.
Yeah.
And I used, you find me a good job, I'll come. And Frisk found me a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you get to the team, a Frisk team that was some leftovers from the 70s, and then you got some younger guys, like Marius Vogt and Skog.
Well, Marius was
Skogdal.
coming in from, I think he was coming in from school in Trondheim.
Yeah.
They brought in a couple players. And,
Jørgen Haga, Skogdal,
yeah.
and then you had the old timers like Setereng and Johansson,
that's
Nils
correct.
Nilsen.
Yeah.
And then did Vern come the same time together with you?
Vern,
They came 86.
he came a year later.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that Frisk team on paper should, you can make the argument that they maybe could have won the title.
Well, me personally, in October, I hurt my knee.
Yeah.
And so I didn't play with the team until I didn't get back onto the team. I had a major operation, and then I didn't get back on the team till I think it was like mid-January. And we made, again, we snuck in and got fourth place in the playoffs. And we ended up playing against, who was it again? I think it was Sparta, I think it was.
Might be. Which area are we talking about now?
That was in
84,
86,
85,
I think it
yeah.
was. And the games, for some reason, we had to play our games in Jordalampi, and we were selling that out.
Yeah.
And we beat them.
Yeah.
And then we went on to play Stjernen, and
you lost.
and then we lost.
Against the Stjärn 86, I think that
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Yeah. Örjan Lövdahl, he was a great player.
He was a really, really good player.
High hockey IQ type.
Yeah.
But what would you say that was the reason you didn't win? You were not enough depth, not enough scoring. If you look back, is there something you would say that?
I just think that, to be honest with you, I just think that at that time, Fredrikstad Stjernen had a better team.
They had a better team, yeah.
And
they won that year, by the way.
They won.
So,
they beat us in the final.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just outplayed us.
Yeah.
I don't think you could say anything more than that. Of course, you can always look back and say, we could have tried harder. Yeah. And but they
margins also, some
they
bouncers
won,
here and
they won,
bouncers.
and
you can't.
And I'm not a sore loser. Well, I am a sore loser.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to, say that we lost to a better team. So yeah. But how, if you take us inside the tactical side of the game back then? Today you have all this. They are, sitting with not in Norway, but sitting on the iPad and watch the situations. They have all the scouting, and of course there is an evolution to the equipment and stuff like that. But tactically, did you have any? Let's say you're going to meet Sparta away. Did you have the coach telling you what their strength was, who you should watch for, or you just go out there and play?
Just go out and play.
Yeah, I didn't have no knowledge of the...
No. The coaching
the
today
opponent.
and the coaching back then is like two different situations. Like we just went out and played.
Put on the gear and get out there.
Yeah, get out there and play hard.
So
and preparation for the game, it was mostly what you did yourself. Okay. I had a player tell me once that I was like two different people. In practices, I was always joking around, and then before a game, I hardly said a word. Just preparing yourself.
Yeah. So beside the hockey, you come to a new country. First Stavanger, and then was it any difficulties to adapt to the new? Just through the hockey, just came naturally.
It just came natural, and then Stavanger was that was and still is an oil town.
Yeah.
And so everybody spoke English, and
so you felt home in a way.
Yeah, and like I told you earlier, I have a problem being dyslexic, and I have trouble pronouncing words.
Yeah.
And so I tried to learn the language 3 or 4 times, and last teacher told me, forget it.
Yeah, but you understand though if people say something they should not say.
Yeah.
So but then how is the private life? You stay here, you have a job, you get friends, you meet a woman.
Yeah. No, I met a girl from Egersund when I was in Stavanger, and then she moved with me to Oscar, and we had 2 children. And private life is good. I got really great friends out in the Oscar area.
Did you keep touch with the people back home?
In Canada?
Yeah.
Oh, constantly.
Yeah. So back then it was like letters and phone calls? Or?
Well, actually, no, not so much. Whenever I would go home basically every summer if I could.
Okay.
And then I always kept in real great contact with my friends. And then when we started with WhatsApp and the internet, I call them. We keep in touch all the time.
Also, I guess you're still in touch with your old teammates and that's one of the beauty.
One or 2 guys from Stavanger still. Yeah. And Frisk, the guys with Frisk, of course.
And also back home in Canada.
Oh yeah. We had a reunion back in my university. I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and I went back to that, seen a whole bunch of nice guys.
2015, I think it was. I read it somewhere. Yeah. So that was a nice experience.
Yeah.
Do you think back, if you go back to that time, is there any time in a career like you have thought of what could have been if you?
Oh, constantly.
Yeah,
constantly.
Because if
well, after I moved to Frisk, I injured my knee, of course, and then I was getting 28, 29, and they found me a really, really good job, and that's when I concentrated more on my work. I thought that was, and that ended up being, for me personally, a very, very good thing.
Yeah.
But looking back, I should have maybe concentrated a little bit more than I did on hockey.
Yeah.
But then again, if I would have done that, that could have affected my job.
Yeah.
So, you never know. You never know.
I mean, as a Canadian man, boy, kid, youth, NHL is a natural destination to try to get to. That ambition was it there?
Well, people don't realize. Well, people realize this, of course. When I came over to Norway, there was only 16 teams. Now there's 32.
Yeah, exactly.
And back in the late 70s and early 80s, it was a lot of fighting.
Yeah,
a lot of fighting. And there was no real semi-pro team then. No. There wasn't like it is set up now.
Yeah.
And so you either, and then I got a offer for a contract to come to Stavanger. I actually had, I did have a pro tryout with Philadelphia, and I didn't really know if I was going to make it or not, and I thought I wouldn't. But you never know.
No, of
course. I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to come to Norway.
Yeah.
Because at that time, you got to remember that, like I said, there's only 2 foreigners per team. And most of the European teams would pick Swedes, Finns, Russians, whatever. They wouldn't go across the pond and pick North American players.
So if I read you correctly, you was always very conscious of I need some security.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a good point what you're saying, because if you look at the hockey back, it was a hard game.
Yeah.
Björn Skåre went there and he was shocked.
Yeah.
One of the reasons he came back, all the violence. So that's a really good point. So that's what people should remember. But they compare NHL today with NHL then. You can't do that.
You can't compare.
You can't,
like we talked about Gretzky. He had 2 protectors.
Yes.
And also, because he was such a high-scoring, and he was a really great player, of course.
Of course.
But the league itself, the NHL league itself, didn't want Gretzky injured, because wherever he went, he would sell out the arena.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things, speaking about that, when some Gretzky gets upset with me, if you go see the highlights, he seldom got hit.
Well, you
get perfect conditions to play and to create, which Mario Lemieux, Eric Lindros, people after him never was close to.
Well, you take Gretzky as an example. If you look at the highlights and watch when he walks in past the blue line into their zone, the defensemen just back up.
Yeah.
But you get him in and around the net,
Yeah.
and it's a goal.
Yeah, it was.
So, if the defenseman tried to hit him, then you had to fight Marty McSorley.
Yeah, or Dave Semenko back in those days, and also he
But
was.
good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean that was If you go a bit before them, you will remember how the Flyers terrorized. Speaking about the Flyers, the league, which was the Broad Street Bullies, and that era was very violent.
What changed hockey in North America is the Russians came over and played the NHL teams.
Yeah.
And literally kicked the shit out of every team.
Yeah.
And then both North America, or all of North America, both the States and Canada said, we've got to change.
Yeah.
And that's what did it, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s, it was, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And then they had to change their style.
Yeah.
Plus opening the league up to 32 teams, then you've got...
expansional here.
You've got more players playing. More Europeans got a chance to come over and show their stuff.
Yeah. And being European back then, to go to try to get a job in North America was a tough outing,
very tough.
because people, it was very few teams, fewer teams, and a lot of bodies that wanted jobs.
Well, Detroit, they back in those days, they changed it. They brought in 5 of the toughest Russians you could find, and after that. Most NHL teams were looking at Russian players, but in saying that, there was a lot of Russian players that didn't make it in the NHL.
Yeah,
they were playing in the Russian leagues. They secured good contracts in the NHL, and then they couldn't make it. They couldn't handle the roughness.
Yeah, the physical abuse. Yeah, because it's a tough game, and that's what I always speak when I talk with non-hockey fans. They think that hockey is that hockey players and hockey fans are very proud of the nature of the game because it's so violent, they're so tough, but it's a misunderstanding, because hockey itself it's a sport where you as a player you used to pain. You have to accept a certain type of pain to do your craft.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's make hockey unique, because that's why I think pain is the name of that game.
Yeah.
So it makes you automatically much tougher, like steel sharpens steel, right?
Yeah.
So what is your take on that?
Well, you take the fighting example. Like I don't like calling hockey violent. I like it calling hard hitting. You take the fighting as an example. If you give somebody a really, really dirty shot, you'd have to expect to fight
or answer for it. Yeah,
and they left that as part of the game. And there was talk. There was talk many years ago of trying to take fighting out. But the reason why they didn't take fighting out of hockey is because they took pictures of the fans when there was a fight on the ice, and everybody was standing up cheering.
Yeah.
And then they just realized that this has got to be part of the game, but we have to tone it down, which they did.
Yeah, because back on this, you had like 2 fighters in each team. Yeah. Now you just seldom have any fighters. Yeah. So that's why, for example, my team, as I say, the Washington Capitals, you have Tom Wilson. That is like a physical guy, but can fight.
And can play.
I can play. So that's the
thing.
Yeah, that's the evolution of the game. You don't have time for passengers anymore, and just the fighters. You must know how to play. So that's interesting,
Well, one of the things that people don't realize also is that some of the European players, they were used to the bigger ice surfaces. And when they came into North America, because of the smaller ice surfaces, they couldn't adapt. And there was talk in the NHL, well, should we go to the European sizes? And as far as I understand, the NHL decided not to, because if you keep the size of the way the rinks are in North America, then if you've got the puck, you've got like 2 seconds to make a decision what to do with it. Yeah. If you've got a wider ice, you've got 4 seconds. And so they said we're taking some of the excitement out of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's a good point. But then again, sometimes you get surprised how some players really can make it have great careers in NHL without being like physical. Speaking of defensemen like you were. Niklas Lidström, Larry Murphy, Paul Coffey, smooth skating, not the physical type of defenseman, Phil Housley.
Yeah.
So it means you could, but maybe the common thing for all those players, the high hockey EQ, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's also the way to survive in the...
Well, I coached here in Norway, and one of the boys I coached many years ago, his father came up and said he really wanted his boy to learn hockey because he had read, and he was a psychologist, and he said he had read that it's very hockey is one of the few sports that is very good for the brain and for people to react quickly, and they've got to, and it was extremely important for his boy to play. So.
Yeah. What do you think about the state of hockey today? When you see the players today, the game in general, is there something that you think that
Norwegian League?
Yeah, in general, the hockey like it's today, it's like something is better, something is worse. I mean, the better athletes. They have the sports psychologists, nutrition, the sports scientists and stuff like that, which was not part of the game before. But is there something there that you have gone missing, you think?
Well, I'm going to get crucified for saying this. I know this, but I truly believe that, like, you've got 10 teams in the league, and I don't know how many of these teams are going bankrupt right now.
No,
and
a few.
and they've got to change, in my opinion. And I've said this for years. Is I think they've got to change the style of not trying to be professional like Sweden or Finland. Like, one of the things I would do is I would have each team only allowed, let's say, 4 players or maybe 5 that are over the age of 30, and it doesn't matter if you're a Norwegian or a foreigner.
Yeah.
And if you do that with every team, then you get the opportunity for the younger players to play.
Yeah.
And I think people would come to games if it's exciting. Like, if it's a 3-2 game or a 5-3 game, they don't want to see a 10-2
Yeah,
game.
it's too many. Yeah.
And then plus you need to get the younger players playing, and the only way they can is if you take some of the older players away from the game.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of boring games that you're gonna go they have no interest because they the league is to have too many weak teams. So you go actually going a long journey to waiting for the playoffs when the real.
Well, maybe they should reduce the league down to 8 teams.
Yeah,
just for, let's say, a 5-year period.
Just to try.
And then the Norwegian government or should really help out the other towns in Norway to try to build more ice halls. It's not as though the government doesn't have the money.
No. But do you think there is there's a job for the federation because you need good hockey people to sell your sport, right?
Well, like I said earlier, in Canada, we and the same in the United States, they have no rules. Like, they go out and they play. Well, at the age of 4, 5, and 6. They're out there for a minute and a half, they blow the whistle and they change. A little bit older, they don't do that. They get the best players playing on the best teams. Mm-hmm. And no matter what sport you have, you're going to have young players that are going to be better than other players. Yeah. They just advance better. Always have them playing to the quality that they are. If they can play 1 or 2 years older, let them play.
Yeah.
Don't hold them back. Because you're just holding them back.
Yeah,
my opinion.
Yeah, that's more elite thinking. Early stages.
Early stages.
Yeah.
Do super leagues.
It makes sense. I mean.
Well, even if each like Frisk or Valrang or whatever, they had a super team at the age of 10 or whatever, where just pick a team to go play in a tournament within Norway. Yeah. And you don't have to travel far. Just every town's got to pick their best players, and you don't have to have 4 lines. You can have, let's say, 3 lines and 4 defensemen. Like, you don't have to have the team overloaded. Just get the best players playing against the best players.
Have you ever thought about coaching? High level. Was that never an option?
I coached right up to the U20s, and then because of work,
of course,
I had to go down to Geneva. So
yes, that's
but I never ever thought of coaching at the high level, never. But what I would like to do is for me personally is it'd be nice to go into a team and not be the coach, but kind of tell the boys what they're doing wrong and right, and that I did that a little last year with U16s in Oscar, and I really like that.
Speaking about Switzerland, I mean, they've been one of the nations that really have produced a lot of players that came to NHL. When you lived there, did you go to the games?
All the time.
Yeah,
I was actually offered a job to coach there.
Okay,
and I didn't do it.
What have they done? What have
not
they
at
done?
The high level? Sorry, not at the high level.
No, but what have they done right to is there an investment in the hockey itself? Is there coaches they brought in? What is the reason for the success?
They have tryouts for the team. Just like they do in Sweden, just like they do in Finland.
Okay.
And at young ages. You have your best teams, they go and they have to try it, and if you don't make that team, then you go down. Whereas they don't have that here.
So it proves your point then.
and look at what they've done.
Yeah.
And when I first came to Norway, Switzerland and Norway were about the same.
Yeah. Even, you don't have to go that far. Look at Denmark.
Yeah.
I mean, Bjørn Skåre was the first Norwegian in NHL 1978, and with the guys that are there now, I think we have number 9 now or 10 that NHL players totally during that time from 78 to now. I think Lilleberg is the latest one. I think it's 10 people.
Okay.
Denmark, I think Frans Nielsen was the first one in 2008, and they have like 26 or something. So they have passed Norway when it comes to develop hockey. So it means that maybe we are not doing a good enough job here. I don't want to criticize anybody, but I mean, what's your take on that?
It gets back to the rules and also the amount of ice halls. Like in my opinion, if a town that's got 5,000 or 6,000 people here in Norway, and you ask them if they'd like to build an arena, they're thinking that, well, if we build an arena, we have to have 1,000 or 2,000 people or 1,000 people sitting here. No, you need 5 or 6 dressing rooms. You need a nice place where you can buy a coffee and just get started. And when you think about it, if you take some of the cities on the coast, all those boys are out training outside in the rain and in the cold and in the wind. Whereas you get an indoor arena, you might find it slowly gets to be more popular. Like one of the best junior players that we have in Oscar right now is from Kristiansand.
Kristiansand, of all places.
Yeah.
Wow. I was not aware of that. Yeah, that's interesting. Speak about the arena. I mean, as a man that lives in Asker, it must be some excitement about the Warner's Arena. I think they're doing a good job there. I mean, when I get there, I think it's really impressive. I know there was a new arena and all the hype around it, but I'm quite impressed what the job they're doing there.
I think Oscar Commune on that arena and the Varna organization to help sponsor it has just been unbelievable. But you take the sports around Oscar, Oscar's turned into such a great town. It's got artificial ice, outdoor skating at Leisinga. They've got the heated football right beside it, swimming. They're doing a velodrome now. They're really, really good.
And you had 16 or 15 players from the area. That's almost unheard of in modern hockey now.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
And we just need more. We need more arenas like home in Holland.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need around the country.
Which back to NHL, which your favorite team and your favorite player growing up? Who was that?
Well, moving over to Norway in the early 80s, we didn't see so many games back then. No. And so I never really had a favorite team. But Dallas drafted my son in the third round, and so Dallas is one of my favorite teams.
Yeah.
And then also one of my best friends is assistant general manager for the Vegas Knights, and so I follow those two.
Yeah, new franchise. I mean, it's funny how it works. And Vegas has been in one final and won one Stanley Cup. Toronto hasn't won one round.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I seen something on a podcast that Toronto, the last time they won it, there was only like a 14 playoff, and they only had the best of 5.
Yeah, I think
and they have never ever gone past the second round.
67. They did last year though. But
they didn't go past the second round, did they?
They beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. No, past the second round, the first round.
Yeah, they didn't go past the second round.
It's insane. I mean, we're talking about the hockey capital, but then again, if you look at the bigger picture of hockey itself, it's shocking to think about that. No Canadian team has won since Montreal Canadiens '93.
Well,
it's 30 years, my friend.
Well, I think it's the organization. It's who's running it. It's who you're picking.
The Canadian blame Gary Bettman.
Well,
that's a reach, isn't it?
He's an easy guy to blame, but I mean, I've got my minuses with Bettman, and I've got my pluses with Bettman. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, but there were some close calls, though. I mean, you had some finals at Edmonton last year.
Yeah.
You cannot go down 3-0. I mean, I was just rooting for Edmonton, really, really.
Well, there you go. It wasn't as though Edmonton wasn't the better team. It's just that they didn't have the heart, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And Florida, I had mixed feelings about that series because I liked Edmonton. But I thought Florida had paid their dues.
Yeah, the year before
they lost.
Close,
and they've been building.
And Paul Maurice is a cool guy too. And the coach, I love the coach, Paul Maurice.
Yeah. And so I had really mixed feelings about that series.
I hear you. I completely agree in the sense because you've been there, you've been close. I mean, if you look back historically, since I follow hockey, every team that won suffered before was experienced some pain before they could win. New York Islanders, they was like everybody was supposed to be good before they won. They had some bad losses before they broke. And they said the thing that changed their fortune was when they got Butch Goring.
Yeah,
he was the missing piece back then. They say, and then the Edmonton Oilers went to the final with Gretzky and everybody. They lost 1 year to LA from the Miracle of Manchester. And then they lost to Islanders.
Well, look at Claude Lemieux. I don't know. Do you remember him?
Yeah, of course.
Like he would get traded to a team, and then he didn't do anything until the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I shouldn't say he didn't do anything.
No, but I completely agree.
He went into a complete different level.
And that's what I mean. Sometimes hockey, I tell people, it's a bit of a cliche. You have to be good at the right time.
Well. This is the honest truth. I haven't watched a hockey game, and I won't. And I usually don't watch a hockey game, the NHL, until after the February trade deadline. Because then after that, it's a complete different. Because they're fighting for a playoff spot, and I find it much more exciting.
And then playoff comes around, it's like a different sport.
Yeah, I'm watching highlights in the NFL right now.
I mean, it's to win. I mean. What's fascinates me is all the pain you have to go through to accept to win that cup.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest dream they ever have. It doesn't matter if look at Conor McDavid, all the money in the world, but he lost that cup. It's haunting him this day, right?
Well, hockey that league is the hardest. The Stanley Cup, let's say,
it's the hardest trophy by far
in the world.
By far,
to win.
It's not even close.
It's
not even close.
In order to go into a 7-game series and play every second day against
the same team.
Well, it's not just the same team. What you're doing is that you're playing against the same team, but also you're on the first line, so you play against their first line, and you play against the same guys every second night, every shift, and you at the end you just hate that
hate the guts of
you're fighting in the corner.
Human nature, right?
Human nature.
Yeah. So,
but you've got to bypass that, and then do your hardest to beat that guy in the corner, because he's going to try to beat you.
So it means this year the gut feeling said that Edmonton Oilers has to get back there again, because that pain they endured, that's the motivation itself, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You get that close and lose it. Well, that's what happened with Florida.
Yeah,
they got that close and lost it, and then they won it.
And then also sometimes you never know if you're going to make it back. That's what people say. I went to the Cup when I was 19. I thought maybe I could get back again. Never did.
Yeah.
So that's a bit, the.
Well, you take Vegas as an example. They first the modern day franchise team to come into the NHL. And the people they had in the background to pick the right people, the right players.
Yes.
And then you take Seattle as an example, the Kraken.
Yeah.
It's there. You got a pure example if you don't have the right people picking the right players.
Yeah.
Because they after Vegas had sprung up and started winning all the games when they first came in, they were seriously considering on changing the format for an expansion club. But then now with Seattle, so
yeah. Yeah, we will see. I mean, I hope Conor McDavid gets his Stanley Cup, but do you have to beat a lot of good teams to get there? That's the problem. The Avalanche, Dallas Stars, the Wagon, you have a lot of good teams. That's what makes it the best league and the best sports in the world for me.
Well, it's the same for me. Like like I said, I like to follow the NFL playoffs, and I watch the highlights. But when it comes to the playoffs in the NHL, I wake up early and watch the games that have played that night.
Yeah. Since you've been living outside Canada for all these years, do you feel, are you a Norwegian Canadian, or you're a Canadian, or you're a mix of both? Or it's strange because people that
I feel I'm a man without a country.
Oh yeah.
I came I lived in Canada. I lived in the States for a couple of years. Lived in Norway. Spent a year or so working in Sweden, and then I spent 15 years in Geneva.
Free agent, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then coming back to Norway, I really enjoy it, and getting back with my old friends. So I like Norway's my home.
Yeah, for sure.
So now being retired, I'm my daughter moved to Canada, and so I'm spend as much time in Canada as I can with her and her family.
Rod, to finish off, we got to get a bit serious here, because you experienced something that that's the nightmare for every parent. I mean, you lost your son, a young, promising hockey player. I mean, where do we start? Take us there. How? Of course, it's horrible, but how did you manage to get through? You probably never get through it, but how do you manage to continue life and when you experience something horrible as that?
Well, I've had how can you never get over it? Like,
no, you can't.
Whoever says that it gets easier,
it's not true.
It is definitely not true. Like you can watch a TV program, you can listen to a song, and all of a sudden you got tears rolling down your face. So it's just something that you never ever get over, and especially like he got drafted by Dallas. They were sending him a contract, and I like it's like taking half of my life away. Yeah. Because I was up at night watching him play, and like, going over to see him, and I found that was really, really hard also. Like, of course, missing him, but I mean, missing following him was extreme hard. The whole situation, like, is so like they say, a parent should never outlive their children. Yeah. So, but I'm very proud of him. Very proud of him to this day, and what he accomplished in his short time. And he was a hell of a good guy. Is there special moments during year or like Christmas now that is harder than? Christmas is the hardest. Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't like Christmas. No, exactly. I've got very, very good support from my wife's family, and we go there. But I don't like it. I don't.
I completely understand.
Well, especially like that my daughter's living in Canada too. She has 4 children, and she can't come at Christmas time, so it's a very lonely time for me.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, that's just the way it is. And,
life is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But do your son has a prize after him, or
what happened was that my old company and a really good friend of mine donated some money for us to start a foundation. And so we started what we called the Spirit of Hockey Foundation, and Jürgen Haga was a big supporter at that time.
I played hockey against Jürgen.
One of my closest friends, and so then people started to donate a little bit. Not so much in Norway. In Norway they're not. They don't do that kind of thing.
Not culture for it?
No, I don't think so. But we give this scholarship out. We pick the best in the Byram area. We try to pick the best 15, 16, or 17-year-old, and we give them a scholarship, and that goes out every year. This year we've got a big project that we're supporting. We're going to build a shooting ramp outside of Oscarholland.
Okay.
Indoor shooting ramp.
Yep.
And it's been going on for 11 years now.
Good. Let's finish off with hockey again. The best game you ever played, which one is that? According to yourself.
Best game would probably just have to think back. The best team I ever played on was my college team, I think.
Yeah.
Like we had, like I said, we were rated one of the best teams in all of Canada at that time. And in Canada, there's like 5 different divisions or 4 different divisions. And I can't really pick my favorite game, but that was like we had 3 solid lines. We played with 4 defensemen in college. And if we had, like if the first line wasn't playing, the second line was going to score the goal.
Yeah.
And if the second line wasn't playing, you knew the third and the
deep
first.
Deep team then.
We had such a solid team.
And that's the key to win championships.
Yeah. Is the third and fourth line.
Depth, yes.
Yeah.
That's,
So
what do you like to do, when you're not working? What is your hobby? Do you have any?
I love golf.
Golfing.
I like golf.
Okay.
So I go to Fornebu Simulator once a week.
Okay.
And then in Varnerholland there's a weight studio, so I go there twice a week.
Yeah.
And then go on long walks and watch Frisk. So that's basically my life right now, and I'll hopefully go on a golfing trip sometime in February.
Do you sometimes just sit back and reflect, from the very beginning, the journey you took, where you're now, and you see how life happens? Do you think about that sometimes?
I think I was lucky. I think if I was to look back, work-wise in that, some of the decisions I made, some were right, some were wrong. The disappointing part for me personally was probably not having somebody to talk to that would tell me if this was right or this was wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I consider myself quite lucky. I ended up doing I got an opportunity to have a really, really good job via Frisk, and but it was up to me to do well.
Yeah,
and I think I had a pretty good career.
And the beauty of hockey is like you always have families everywhere, because through the hockey, like I never met you before, but we can find common ground.
Yeah,
we can talk like old teammates in a way, because of the sports itself. That's the beauty of the hockey.
Yeah.
You're never alone when you've been part of hockey, and that's really the beauty of the game.
No,
yeah.
So I was really disappointed last night that Canada got knocked out of the World Juniors, but
it's good for the game, maybe.
Well, I take it this way: is that if you had to pick a team, probably the worst team to pick it from is probably Canada because there's so
Too many options.
players.
Too many options.
So many options. And whatever team you do pick, you're going to get criticized.
Yeah, exactly. It's like picking a team in Brazil for football.
Yeah.
It's like 200 million coaches so all of a sudden that always, why not this guy, what that guy, he's better than him. And yeah, I know.
Yeah, but like the United States always has a good team. And they've got a lot of players too, but I think it's a little less.
Yeah.
And but Canada getting knocked out 2 years in a row like this is they've got to completely change something.
Yeah.
They're doing something wrong, and they've got to look at what the other teams are doing and start doing the same thing. So,
Mr. Winkler, I appreciate that you took your time for this
Pedro,
talk.
this was a
Really
pure
nice.
pleasure.
Yeah.
And but then thank you very much for having me.
A great pleasure to have you here. I will see you around in Bonners Arena.
Absolutely.
Okay, have a nice evening out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.